I read 14 books this month, so we're gonna go through all these books and I'm going to just give you my thoughts, like fully unfiltered as always. And I'm really excited about this stack because there's so many good books in here, also lots of new books, so it'll be really fun to go through these. And yeah, comment below the book that you were most excited to read this month that like really surprised you, or maybe a book that was like your favorite of the month. I would love to hear the books that you're obsessed with so I can get more book recs and things that I want to read in the coming months. So yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed. I was looking on like YouTube and stuff, and I saw that like 50% of you guys have not subscribed. So if you guys like hanging out here, make sure you guys do. And yeah, let's just get into this video. I read 14 books this month, but most of them were romances. So I'm gonna go through these first. And the first romance I'm gonna share is a book I actually don't have, and it's called Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. I read this book because I wanted to see how I felt about Colleen Hoover's writing after years of like not reading it. I got back into reading in 2013 by reading Hopeless by her, and then I kind of took like a little hiatus because I was just busy with work and stuff, and then I got back into reading again, reading one of her books, and I think it was in like 2019. And so I just wanted to see, you know, how I felt. And this book was not really my favorite. I also wanted to read it because someone at the gym asked me to borrow it, and I knew I had it on my shelf, but I don't usually have people borrow books that I haven't read before because sometimes I don't get them back. And yeah, I think I ended up rating this book 2 stars. It just was not my favorite. I feel like the daughter was just completely unhinged the whole book. I do think that it gives an accurate representation of how everyone deals with grief differently, but I just feel like she needed some therapy, and her mom did not send her to therapy. So the whole time I was like, someone please help this girl. I also feel like the story focused more on the mother-daughter relationship versus the actual romance. And then I read Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood, and I haven't read a book by Ali Hazelwood since, I think the most recent book I read of hers was maybe Love on the Brain. Like, it's been a while. I read Love on the Brain, Love a Hypothesis by her. I still have Love Theoretically on my shelf. I really want to get to that one because so many people have loved it, but I picked up this book and I enjoyed it. It was really cute, and I really liked how there was so much like tension between Connor and the main female character. I was a little confused because there were so many characters in this book, because the book is surrounding the main character going to Italy for a wedding, and while she's there, there's a huge cast of characters. So sometimes I got a little confused, but I do know that this is the book that comes after Not in Love, so I might have been more inclined to like enjoy those other characters if I had read that other book. I don't know. If you guys have any insight on that, let me know. I'm not someone who really likes to read a book that's like heavy spice, no plot, and I did know that Not in Love was going to be like a very, very heavy, spicy book, and so I just wasn't really wanting to like pick that up because I know for myself, like, I'm just not going to enjoy that. Now this was a perfect level of spice. I feel like the plot really moved outside of the spice, but there definitely was a lot of spicy scenes in this as well. I loved how the romance was really like brooding, and you could really see Connor and how he was like trying to keep himself at arm's length from her. And I will say I don't think ever read an age gap romance, so this was like one of my first introductions to it, and I was happily surprised, but it definitely gave Taboo vibes. Like, while I was reading it, I was like, he's 38 and she's like 23. Like, I kind of want to forget that because that just seems like such a wild age gap to me. But again, I did enjoy this book. I think the things that would have made this a little bit better for me would be just like not so much of a focus on like the happenings of the wedding and more the focus on like the romance. And I get like Ali Hazelwood wanted to make that tension because like he's older obviously, but I almost feel like it took a little too long to get into the romance. I found myself more excited about the past. They had like a past and present timeline, and I found myself more excited about the past timeline than the present timeline, because the present timeline was just like them not talking to each other. So yeah, I did enjoy this one. I think I ended up rating this one 3 or 3.5 stars. I can't remember exactly. And then I read Where We Found Our Heart. None of these are in order, but this is the last book in the Lost and Found series. I thought it was so freaking cute. Like, it was so good. I rated this one 4 stars. I've never read a pregnancy trope book until last year, and I absolutely fell in love with that trope. And I think I'm one of the few people who actually likes to read a pregnancy trope. And if you're someone who likes a pregnancy trope, I feel like you'd really like this book. It is one of those books that focuses on the pregnancy of the 2 characters, but you also see that their romance is like blooming outside of that too. And the main character in this, she also is taking care of her siblings because she's like their guardian. So they're kind of like orphan, and she's like figuring out things on her own, and she's like scared. She's like, I'm bringing another kid into the mix and I didn't plan this. And it's with the guy that she had feelings for, but she doesn't want to trust because, again, she's taking care of her family. So like, she's used to not trusting people. So it was a very good book. And I, again, rated this one 4 stars. It was very easy to read, very quick. And then I read Sight Unseen by Cassia Thompson and immediately put another book by this author on my TBR for this month because her books just feel like a movie. If you like the show, what's it called? Not 90 Day Fiance, or maybe it is 90 Day Fiance. Like, I think Love at First Sight. I think that's the show. If you like that show, you should definitely read this book. This is about 2 people who, sight unseen, they get married, and a TV show like follows them while they're navigating their marriage. It is wild. It literally feels like I'm watching TV, or literally felt like I was watching TV while I was reading it. And I feel like if you're someone who likes shows like that, you will really love this so much. Again, rated that one 4 stars. I read Ghosted. I have heard about this book and it's been on my shelf for a really long time, and I made a video reading books that have been on my shelf for a really long time, like, I don't know, I think like 2-3 years or something like that. And this one had been on there for a while. I just get nervous about thick books. That's honestly what it is. This one was okay. I wasn't like obsessed with it, and it definitely gave like book talk in 2019 vibes. It was very unrealistic, but it was still like very fun to read overall. It just wasn't my favorite. It's about a girl who is like a single mom. She's taking care of this girl because it's like obviously her daughter, and this like rock star guy that she used to have feelings for kind of comes back into her life, and you see them go from there. I don't know, it was okay. It just wasn't like my favorite. And then I read Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan, and I'm so sad that this series is over, but I really do hope that she continues this, like, and has a little spin-off with the assistants in this book. I loved this story. I think the thing that I love most is we see Hendrix in the other books, in books 1 and 2, which again, you can read these out of order, but I don't think I'd read this one out of order. I think you can read the second book in the Skyland series, which is called This Could Be Us. I think you could read that first before I let go, but I don't think that you should read this one before that, because you do see what happened with the 2 characters in book 1 and 2 in this book, and it is like a nice little bow on top of a little like packaged gift. And I feel like if you haven't read the other books, you don't feel that same feeling of like, you know, satisfaction of like knowing that they're like where they are in life. But in the other 2 books, Hendrix is like the funny friend. She's the friend that shows up for everyone. She's the great auntie. She just is life to the party. And in this book, you really see the emotional side of her so much more. And I feel like this book is for the girls who try to juggle everything, who are trying to juggle family, who are trying to be the best at their job, be the best daughter, be the best friend, be everything to everyone. And I mean, it's literally impossible. So you are going to fall short, and you see her have guilt with not being able to be there for her family as much, but also wanting to, you know, continue to thrive in her industry and build a side hustle on top of like her full-time business. Like, she is just a woman who is trying to do everything. And you see Maverick, and in this book, he is literally begging on hands and knees to be with this woman. Like, and I think the thing I loved most is like, you don't see a lot of books where the guy falls first and harder, and he is definitely falling first and very, very hard for her. He sees her out on the dance floor, and it's kind of like something that you would imagine in a movie, the way that he first like meets her or like sees her and is intrigued by her. She's out on the dance floor, just like life of the party, being so fun, like keeping everyone together. She starts this like dance and like everyone's following her. And he sees her and he's just like enamored with her. And I think that that is so beautiful. And I'm normally not someone who's obsessed with like the insta love trope, but this didn't feel super insta love only because he was intrigued by her when he first saw her, and then he started talking to her, and then he was like, wow, like I haven't felt like this in a long time. And I feel like that is very realistic versus like I read, you know, Say You Love Me by Abby Jimenez, and like the first day that he met her, he's like, you want to go on a date? Which again is like, it's not bad, but it definitely was like just heavy insta love. This was like, he saw her, was very enamored by her, was like, I need to get to know her. Like she's just life of the party. Like who wouldn't love Hendrix, you know? And then as like they start talking, he's like interested in her, but like he's just kind of feeling her out. And then as you see the book go on, his feelings for her grow and grow and grow, but she's someone who has never really trusted other people. And I feel like that is so relatable to the independent girlies, myself included. I know with my husband, it took me so long to fully trust that he would like handle things. Not that he couldn't, he could from the first, you know, day that we started dating, but I think relinquishing that control is very scary for someone who's always like wanted to do things on their own. And like, now we'll go travel, my brain is off. Like he has printed out the tickets, like he, you know, is carrying the bags. Like I don't even know what gate we're in, but I remember in the past, I would be like, okay, I like need to make the itinerary, like where we're going, what we're doing, you know, I'll hold the bags. Like I just was very much like, I cannot relinquish control, because what if this person fails me and it makes me see them differently than I am viewing them right now. It makes me, you know, really struggle to feel the same way. And so this book reminded me so much of that. I rated this one 5 stars. I love Kennedy Ryan's writing. This also had just bits and pieces of information, like social commentary, that I think was really enjoyable to read. And Kennedy Ryan does such a great job of adding those pieces in without like making the story too heavy or convoluted. And it reminds me of whenever I first read The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Totally different vibe. I'm not saying that they're the same book, but when I first read that book, I was like, it's so wild to read about women in STEM, because I've never read anything like that. So adding in the bits of her work really made me realize how much I just like don't know about that field. And this book was similar in that way, not in the writing style like literally at all. It was similar in that way because I realized that there's so much about entrepreneurship that I don't know, and other like small Black owned businesses trying to thrive and get venture capital, but there's also so much that I could relate to as well as someone who does this for a job. And so it just was a very like great read overall. I loved it and I finished it so fast. 5 stars for me. And then I read Powerless by Elsie Silver. This book was not as good as Heartless, but it definitely is one that's made me want to continue to read the series, which is so wild to me because I remember reading Flawless and not enjoying it and being like, I don't think I'm gonna read the rest of the series. Then I read Heartless and was like, oh, I'm obsessed. I need to read this ASAP. So I read Heartless, I think like the month before reading this one, and I definitely want to continue to read the series. I've heard that Reckless is like one of the best, so I'm excited to dive into that one. This is a very easy read. If you're someone who wants like a quick, fast-paced read, I feel like this is a great one. I actually have a friend at the gym who's looking for like a fun romance. She's just gotten into reading and she was the one who took like the Colleen Hoover book. And I think that this could actually be a good book for her, because not even just this one, just the series in general, because it's very easy to read. The plot lines are like interesting and they keep you wanting to come back for more, and now I'm invested where I want to like see what happens with the rest of the characters. And then I read Capone, and this is the second book in the series, and I actually was watching this video on TikTok and I thought it was so cool. It was of Kennedy Ryan talking at the Romance Book Fest where they had like a bunch of Black authors, and she was talking about how this is the first time, maybe ever, where a urban romance has topped the charts of Kindle Unlimited, and it was like literally #1 on the charts, and it was Jaquel J's stories, and I think it was a Capone series or Capadonna. And I think that is so cool. Like, we are literally breaking barriers by stepping out and reading new authors, trying new things, and sometimes it can be a little like, is this author gonna be good? I haven't really heard that many people talk about it, but then you hear one person, and then 5 person, and then 10 people, and then you're like, okay, I gotta see what's happening. And that is why it's so important to read stories that are not just like the super overly hyped up stories that you might see in Barnes & Noble. And it's so important to look for independent authors and authors that aren't super hyped up yet, to give them the hype that they so deserve. And so I thought that was so cool. I read this book. I do think that I liked Capone better, which is book 1. Sorry if you guys can hear like something outside. They have construction going on. But Capone, like the second book, I don't think was as good as the first one to me, only because I feel like the second book followed more of like the, like, I need to protect her, like people are coming after her. It felt more that kind of vibe versus like focusing on the romance. And when I go into a romance, I want a romance, but this isn't something that I was bored with at all. I think I ended up rating this one 3.5 stars or something. I rated the other book 4 stars. So yeah, it was still enjoyable. It just wasn't like as good as the first one, but I will definitely continue the series because I need to know what happens to Erin and her brother, and these people literally feel real, and it feels like I'm watching a movie when I was reading that book. I also read Flirting Lessons by Jasmine Guillory. This one was a cutesy sapphic romance, and it also was something that I didn't expect because I don't know why, I just assumed that this was the title of the book, not what was actually happening in the book. And a lot of the time I'll buy a book, especially if it's by an author that I like already love. Because I've read Drunk on Love by Jasmine Guillory. I've read The Wedding, I think it's called The Wedding Planner. I've also read By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. So yeah, I've read a lot of books by her. I think I've read one more too. I can't think of what it's called, but I really enjoy her writing. And so I already knew I would enjoy her writing. So I picked up this book really without reading the back. This is about a girl who's giving flirting lessons to a girl who like doesn't really know how to flirt with people. So that concept was definitely cutesy rom-com vibes, and it gave all of that from start to finish. I think I ended up rating this one 3 stars. This one was cute, and I've kind of thought about like my ratings because it's very rare when I read a fluffy cutesy read that it will be rated 5 stars. You know what I mean? Like it probably won't, and I almost wish that I could rate like cutesy reads or rate deep heartfelt reads and rate thrillers in like separate categories, because again, I've never rated a thriller 5 stars. I usually rate them, if I enjoy a thriller, it'll usually be like 4 stars, and that's like a really good thriller. And then the thrillers that I'll read that are just kind of like, oh, they're good, but like, you know, I'd recommend them, but I probably won't remember what happened or the characters like months later. Usually rate those 3.5 stars. Doesn't mean they're bad, like they are actually good. So sometimes I'm like, do I need to change my rating? Because they did give everything that they need to give, but I cannot look at this book and say that it's the same as Can't Get Enough by Candy Ryan. Like I can't. Like this is a 5-star read. I will come back and read this again and again. And this book, it gave everything that I expected. I didn't expect more than like a fluffy, cutesy, fun time. And so I feel like it gave everything. So it's like, is that 5 stars? But it's not the same. You know what I mean? It's not the same. And so I don't even know how to, like, if that fully makes sense, but this book gave everything that it needed to give. It was cutesy, it was fluffy. I think I ended up rating this one 3 stars. I didn't expect anything more or less from this book. And I also read Revive Me, and this is part 2, The Affair, and this is by J.L. Seegers. All of these books are actually, they're picked up by Bloom Books, and they're going to be having new covers. So I'm really excited to buy her books with the new covers, because I feel like all of the covers in this series look almost the exact same, so sometimes you get confused as to what book I'm on. But this one was enjoyable. I don't really remember exactly what I rated this one, but I feel like her books always leave me just like wanting more because they kind of end off on a bit of a cliffhanger and a lot happens in them. So really excited to continue the series. I'll probably start this book maybe next month. It's very rare for me to pick up a book back to back to back in the same series, and I finished the first book, or not the first book, I finished Revive Me, which is Mallory's story. It's her first book in her part of the story. And I had to continue. I literally had to continue. So I immediately picked up this book right after, which is so rare for me. And then I also read Church Girl by Nina Simone. I did not realize that I already owned this on my shelf, and I bought this on vacation, which was honestly fine because when I'm in the mood for something, I need to just read that book when I'm in the mood for that. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, like I'm in the mood for it, but I'll just like wait, and then I'm not in the mood anymore. So while I was on vacation, I was in the mood for it, decided to pick it up, loved it, loved it, loved it so much. I rated this one 4 stars. If you like an alpha male type guy, it's a very enjoyable read. It's about a girl who is leaving her family, or not leaving her family, she's running out on a wedding that she was supposed to be like the bride for, like literally her wedding, a runaway bride. And I just loved it. She runs into the arms of like a sexy tattoo artist, and she's a preacher's daughter. It's just really good. It's a very quick read. It's less than 300 pages. There are things throughout it that keep you invested. I will say the chapters are super long, but that actually didn't bother me because the book was so short. So I read this one in 24 hours, and this is also one that I feel like you will like if you like spice, because it's spicy, but you don't really get a ton of the spice till the end, which is my favorite type of romance read. And yeah, love this one, 4 stars, and I feel like most people will enjoy it. And then I read 2 thrillers, and these thrillers are similar vibes but different. I read The End of Her by Cherie LaPena, and this book right here, I think I rated 3.5 stars. It was enjoyable, but I cannot tell you anything that happened in this book. Like, I genuinely do not, like, I need to read the back because I'm like, I don't even remember what I read. It is not coming to me. So those are the thrillers that I usually end up rating 3.5 stars because I remember how I felt when I read it, but I don't really remember what happened while I read it. And I would recommend it, but again, it's like, if someone wanted to talk about it, I'd be like, wait, hold on, what happened? So again, it was fun. I feel like if you like Frida McFadden's books, you will like this author's books because they're very fast paced. And I think I've read like 4 of their books at this point. I also read Don't Let Her Stay, which is wild because I almost like donated this book to a free library, and I just heard a lot of mixed reviews about it, so I was like, I don't know if I'll like it. I love this one. I rated it 4 stars. It was a thriller that it felt, I don't know, it felt kind of a believable story, but also unbelievable at times, and it was good. It was good. I did not know what was gonna happen at the end, and I feel like I've gotten really picky with thrillers. And it's just because I've read so many, you know, like I feel like I was on a heavy thriller kick for a really long time where I was reading like, you know, 6 thrillers a month. And then I kind of like tapered back because I was reading thrillers and I was like, it's not doing anything for me. Like, I feel like I'm just reading the same storyline in a different font, and this did not feel like that. I really loved it. It was also very easy to read. The words are really big. So yeah, 4 stars. And then I read Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and this might be my biggest disappointment. This was the only contemporary fiction that I read throughout the month. I loved Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. Absolutely loved it. I did not want to put it down. I rated it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I underlined so many things. This book felt so different. Like, it felt like a completely different author. I feel like Blue Sisters had, like, I knew where it was going. You know, we're talking about grief. We're talking about the sisters who are navigating through that. This, I feel like there were so many points of view that I got confused. I also feel like I didn't know what the purpose of this book was for so much of it. And when I feel like I got to the point where I was like, okay, I see where we're going with the purpose of this book, it was almost too late. And not that I have to have a direction that I am going, but when I'm reading a book like this where it's just kind of about like people's lives, I feel like I need to know, like, okay, why do I care about these people? Like, what about these people is making me invested in their story? And I know so many people love this book, but I just did not. I rated this one 2 stars. And I feel like I'm probably in the minority there because I know so many people loved it, but I almost feel like if I'd read Blue Sisters after this one, maybe I would have enjoyed it more, but I had this on such a high pedestal because Blue Sisters was like this close to being a 5-star read. Like for me, if I rated a book 4.5 out of 5 stars, it's dang near 5-star read. Only difference is that with a 5-star read, I'll probably want to read it multiple times. Whereas with a book that's 4.5 out of 5 stars, like I won't probably read it again. Like it probably will be, like it did what it needed to do in that, you know, one time of reading. And this was just so far off from that. So it's probably my most disappointing read out of the full month. So those are all the 14 books that I read. I really enjoyed this reading month. I am definitely gonna continue to read more romance and more thrillers and more contemporary fiction, but I'm hoping to add in more historical fiction next month because I was on a big historical fiction kick, and then I feel like the second that it started to get warm, I was like, I do not want to read about the war. I do not want to read about things that are hard. I want to read things that are fluffy and cutesy and fun, and now I kind of want to like add that back in. And who knows, maybe I'll throw in a fantasy in there because I do have some on my shelf. So comment below again the books that you guys are loving, that you love the most in this month, books that you would recommend, books that maybe you wouldn't recommend, like your most disappointing read. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.